as I understand it, a shooting victim was brought to the hospital, and while undergoing treatment, a crowd arrived of the family insisting to get in and get questions answered that it was way too soon to answer. One thing led to another. The crowd began to grow. Backup was called both from the county and the city to maintain control until the doctors could do their thing. The victim did pass away. That seemed to stir up the crowd even more. So one thing led to another, in which arrests were made in this particular incident.
Talk to us about one of those arrests. I know one of the sheriff's deputies ended up having to tase Akelia Berry. And so just kind of tell us at what point does it come to an officer using force like that?
Well, of course, anytime an officer is involved in an altercation at whatever level, we use what we call a force continuum. That is where you ramp up the force just to get compliance on a lawful order. In this case, it rose to the occasion where just verbal was not enough to cause the crowd to back off, and in this case, an individual. At that point, the officer makes a decision, what tools will it take in order to bring compliance, and it can rise to the occasion of certainly a taser being used, and higher than that. Ultimate is this if a firearm is necessary. But in this case, a taser was deployed, it was utilized. I understand there's a he said, she said, and we will look into that as part of our investigation on what the facts are. Officer was injured, wasn't severe. He did require some medical treatment and a tetanus shot on it. So at this point, we'll just determine what happened based on the facts and the witnesses that were there. Someone has asked me, are you not going to initiate an internal investigation? That may well happen. That would come from a victim. If in this case, the young lady who tased decides she wants to file a formal IA, we will look at that. As it stands right now, we're simply gathering the after action reports of the officers. Those will be analyzed as to who was where, who did what happened. It gets a little more complicated when you had two agencies involved in this case, Chattanooga and the sheriff, and we will be conducting separate investigation based on what the protocol is for our individual agencies.
I know that there's also rumors of other kinds of excessive force. You know, when you guys were there, did you make a barrier and kind of push the family away, or what happened?
Well, here again, rumors are rumors, and until we have all the investigative reports in from the officers and the witnesses, we won't be able to determine just what happened.
Okay. And with that, we're also hearing reports that there might be some sort of a video that was recorded there when all this was going on. Can you confirm?
Again, I cannot confirm nor deny that. We'll have to just wait till the investigation and witnesses may come forward saying, yes, we did videotape or we had cell phone. It is my understanding the hospital did not have cameras set up at that location. I will probably be suggesting strongly that the hospital, especially around the emergency room where you're more likely to have these kind of issues develop, they consider making that part of their security plan. But I can't confirm or deny at this point there were any videos.
Did you, I'm sorry, one last one. Did you meet with any other community leaders? We're hearing that I guess it was the sheriff's office along with the police department and some local church leaders had met last night. Did you go to that meeting?
I did confer by phone with Pastor Kevin Adams in particular. We had a long discussion on the phone. I told him what we were doing. He said he was going to convey that to the pastors. It's my understanding Chief Fletcher may have gone to that meeting. I was not at the meeting, but I did confer with church leaders.
Was there any plan of action in terms of what was discussed?
Well, again, pretty much what I've told you here today was discussed with the ministerial association that was present there. We always want to have calm until we take a look. It is very easy in the heat of the moment for things to go on and he said, she said type incidents. We just can't operate that way. We have to stop, take a breath, look at the protocol that we have in place under our policies and procedures and see if those were properly carried out.
From that law enforcement perspective, going into a crowd control situation, you know, what are your concerns there, not only for the people involved, but your deputies?
Well, first concern is always that no one gets hurt as much as possible. Already you've got a victim in terms of a shooting that took place in which you have a family is now very distraught over the loss of a loved one. Then we become very concerned about the safety of the innocent people that may be involved in any altercation that occurs. We always are going to be supportive and come in force when one of our officers endangers. If we can't back our own up and keep them safe. But by the same token, we realize that we've got to have in place protocol that allows us to examine the facts. We can't go on the say-sos. We can't go on the emotion of the moment. We have to stop, gather any evidence that might be germane to this particular incident, whether it's cameras, as you said, or witness statements, then we'll begin to put the pieces together. We will collaborate with our colleagues in the city to see if their protocol was followed. They'll be looking at our protocol, and we'll do some after-action reports. All right, here's where we need to tighten up, or no, we did a good job. If there's someone who needs to be disciplined, that's always something we're going to consider also. Independently, the victim in this case, who claims may or may not be a victim, I don't know at this point, has the right to ask for a full IA report. That victim would have to come in person, swear to the facts that they're talking about. Why? Because if in fact it turns out to be that it wasn't anything like that, they would have to stand prosecution risk if they're going to testify under oath the things that they saw or heard or had happened, and it turns out it didn't work that way.
Sure. Yeah, and maybe early on I had a chance to speak with the victim's mother, who was there in the crowd that night watching everything going on. She made claims of racial slurs being yelled. This particular, I think is it Michael Mullins, had a closed fist hitting her daughter. Any concerns there? Are you allowed to address that at this point? Or?
No, because all that's speculation. It is he said, she said at this point until we look at the testimony. I don't know what injuries she may have sustained in being tased. That'll be up to her and her side to decide. I would assume she sought medical attention if she felt like that was necessary. We did seek medical attention for our officer. It turned out to be abrasions and small cuts where blood was there. He did receive a tetanus shot for the injuries he received. We expect that. That's the risk of doing law enforcement. But what we always ask the public to look at is that police put themselves in harm's way to calm things down. I cannot say at this point who said what. I'm going to defend my officers like any boss would until I see different. So we will look at the facts and make a decision.
Of course, just have to ask.
Sure.